Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer, the DRF race of the day for Saturday, April the 6th, race number 10 at Keeneland. 100 Kentucky Derby qualifying points to the winner of the Grade 1 Toyota Bluegrass. Let's take a look at this field. We're going 1 1/8 for $1 million. And Mike, we've got a pretty strong field in here. It's a big field, and it's the rematch between Sierra Leone and Dornoch, who really threw it down in last fall's Remsen at Aqueduct.
Yeah, maybe that's the storyline here, Dan. Both seem like good horses. It was real close at the end of the Remsen there, and it was Dornoch who did fight back to get the job done there. I think they're both good. There are alternatives in here, though, if you're looking for one.
There certainly are. Both Dornoch and Sierra Leone have come back and won their seasonal debut in major Kentucky Derby prep races, but their final prep will be in the Bluegrass, so we'll see how the pace plays out according to our friends at Timeform US. And Timeform US is expecting a fast pace. Top Connor is stretching out around 2 turns for the first time. But this horse stayed close to some fast fractions in his debut, Mike. I think that Jose Ortiz is going to take advantage of the inside post and try to go. Dornoch is a fast horse, but something tells me he can sit.
Yeah, I think he can too. I think the one Top Connor can sit too. He's very handy in that debut. I don't know. I don't really know how this place is going to pan out, Dan. Maybe you have a better idea. I can see the one going, and maybe ultimately Chad wants this horse to use his speed, considering that Sierra Leone is a closer in this race. I don't know. I don't know if this pace has to be fast in here. Maybe it will be. I just thought it was a little bit confusing.
I think it'll be solid, however, and Dornoch will be close to the pace. He likes to simply run that way just a touch, also has some tactical speed. Let's start things off with Top Connor. This is $1 million purchase, trained by Chad Brown. He's by Twirling Candy, and this is a likable debut going a 1-turn mile. He had to stay close to a fast second quarter mile in 22.29 seconds. He's still in there punching in the stretch, and he gets away from a horse that would come back to run pretty well, and the 8th place finisher would come back to score a maiden special with an 87 buyer.
I liked everything about this debut, Dan. This horse, he broke from there. He could have made the lead in this race. They didn't even go for it. He took a little bit of a shuffle on the turn. He won that race easily, and to me, he did it almost all on his own in there. He didn't even really have to be asked for much. I think this horse has a chance to be really good. I hate that they do this. Now, this is how they campaign all these lightly raced horses now. You win first time out, and you go right into an impossible spot in your next start. I think there's a chance this horse is really good. I could never bet him against this field. I'm very interested to see what he does in here, though, Dan. I think he has a ton of talent. I want to use him somewhere at some kind of big price.
A lot of talent, good inside post, top connections, good pedigree, lots to like, including the price, 15-1 on the morning line. BU is the number 2. Now, he was campaigned very aggressively by Todd Pletcher and Mike Rapoli last year. As a maiden, he ran in the Hopeful. As a maiden, he shipped all the way to Southern California to run 3rd in the American Pharaoh. He finally did win when cut back to 7 furlongs last time out in this Gulfstream maiden special weight. He always looked comfortable. He sat the pocket on the backstretch, angled 3 wide, and grinds it out. The most notable thing about the race is the Beyer speed figure. It comes back at 96, and I believe that's the best last Beyer coming into this race. The question is he going to be as effective against better horses going a much longer distance?
Exactly. And yeah, that's the question I had too. Was it just getting back to sprint finally? Is that what made the difference with this horse last time? Listen, he's got plenty of pedigree to stretch out, so I'm not surprised if they're going to try it again. He really turned it around last time, though. I couldn't find anything that felt phony about that win, and I liked the way he finished it off. That being said, and I also liked his debut, by the way. I thought he ran really well that day, also sprinting. I hated his Hopeful, hated his American Pharaoh, even though they were pretty tough spots after only 1 start. Hated his race off the layoff in January. I thought he was terrible in that race going a 1-turn mile. He was good last time. I have no idea what to do with this horse.
Both the 1 and the 2 raced with Lasix last time out. They won't have that luxury on Saturday in the Bluegrass. The 3 sees the gray when he won a first level allowance on dirt for Mr. Lucas at Oaklawn. He had Lasix, but then he ran just fine last time out at this distance, albeit over the Tapeta surface and the Jeff Ruby Stakes. It was a race that was kind of dominated by closers. He was fairly close to that pace and still was punching on. I think this horse is getting better. He's just going to have to run a career top because this is a very salty edition of the Bluegrass.
Yeah, I agree. I have no knots on the start last time on the all-weather. He was just no match in that race. Endlessly just pushed him aside at the top of the stretch, and this horse couldn't go with him, but he ran fine in there. I liked his win at Oaklawn 2 starts back. I liked the way that he dug in there to hold on when he was challenged. I think it's hard to like him that much in this race. This is a tough spot.
Dornoch is the number 4. He, of course, is the younger brother of last year's Kentucky Derby winner Mage, going out for trainer Danny Gargan, and he's seeking his 4th consecutive win. When he beat Sierra Leone in the Remsen, it was over a muddy track. He wanted to get forward on that track. Dornoch got to the lead, got the jump on Sierra Leone. He looked beat. He came back along the inside to win. Well, he didn't have to work as hard in his seasonal debut, the Fountain of Youth, a race that was decimated by scratches, and it forced Dornoch to be 1-5 against a very weak field, and he got it done. And I don't think he got to the bottom of the well. I think he can take a step forward from this race, and he's still learning, I think.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I mean, this is just one, I guess you just have to take it for what it is, Dan. It felt like initially it was going to be a really strong prep for him. As it turned out, it was almost a race he couldn't possibly lose. And he just sort of did what he had to do in there. And I think if you're Gargan in the connections, you go, perfect. We got to run into him. He didn't have to work that hard. Now he gets a tougher test. And hopefully he moves forward. Now, I think this is a horse where you sort of want to see him put everything together and then run a breakthrough kind of race here on the way into the Derby. I think he's good enough to do it. Your point's well taken about the Remsen as well, too, Dan. You wanted to be forward on that track, but just have to point out that was a really fast pace. He wasn't the only one who had that idea. That pace was fast. He earned that win.
Good Money is one of 3 in here for Chad Brown. He's a son of Good Magic, and he won his debut going 7/8 of a mile at Tampa Bay, and then he was kind of thrown to the wolves in the Tampa Bay Derby. Now, I guess the only excuse I could make for him in that race was his inexperience. It was only his second start, his first time around 2 turns, because how could the fractions be any slower? How could the trip be any easier? He faced a pretty good field, his stablemate winning that race, but it's not like he's going to fall into that trip again here.
Exactly. I'm not going to add anything to that, Dan. You sort of laid it out exactly how I thought about him. You just laid it out perfectly for him. I think he's a talented horse. He has a huge pedigree to get better with more distance, and he's so lightly raced, but I'm not betting him off that Tampa Bay Derby.
The 6 Just a Touch might be a sleeper in here for trainer Brad Cox. He's yet to run on fast going. He won his debut sprinting at the fairgrounds like a good thing at odds on, drawing off in the stretch. They stretched him out to a 1-turn mile in the Gotham, and he faced a hot horse in Deterministic. Let's watch Just a Touch's runner-up effort over a very, very wet track. He is on the outside, which I think is the place to be, and the fact that he still stays on for second over a course that he might not have loved, I think it portends for a good effort stretching out around 2 turns for the first time on Saturday.
I agree. And you know what? And they bet him hard in this race too. Less than 2-1 in this race off of a 6 furlong debut win. I think he runs fine in here, Dan. The winner just happened to run a really, really big race. I thought that was a pretty good performance. His debut was really good too. Now you come back in this race, I don't think you're really worried that much about the 2 turns, do you? He's a very handy horse. He could fall into a trip here. He's not going to be anywhere close to the favorite this time. I'm using this horse.
I think Lat Long is a little bit of a sleeper that you could use at least at the very bottom of your single race exotics, because it looks like he's starting to figure things out for the red hot Kenny McPeak barn. He's never been off the board from 6 starts, but he took the measure of a good horse in Common Defense 2 starts back in an off-track race at Oaklawn. And then on the Lecomte last time out, it was just a race where they ran 1-2 all the way around the track. And that runner-up Nash has come back to do some good things. He's going to be a better sprinter. He was second at a first level allowance with a 91. And then he won a stake at Oaklawn sprinting with an 85 buyer.
Yeah, I think the winner of that race is pretty good too, Track Phantom. Yeah. So I don't know, that was a pretty good field he was in. I have no real knock on his maiden win. He was also no match for Track Phantom 3 starts back. So he's been in some tough spots, but listen, he's in another tough one here. McPeak, listen, he has him ready for these kinds of races, and he knows how to pull off upsets, especially with these 3-year-olds in the major races on the way to the Oaks and the Derby. So this horse will probably run well in here. I think it's going to be hard for him to win.
The 8 is Epic Ride. He's never been off the board from 4 lifetime starts, but all 4 of those starts have come over the all-weather surface at Turfway Park. Second last time out in the Battaglia Memorial. He made a move, and a strong move at that, to make a brief lead, and then ended up finishing second behind Encino, who's also in this spot. There's a little bit of dirt in this pedigree, but also a ton of turf, and it makes me wonder if dirt's going to be his best option.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same. I feel like maybe they're just taking a shot here to see what happens, because he does have some talent. I didn't love that last start. I didn't love the way he was pretty hard to rate in there. It didn't seem like he wanted to sit all that much, so I just wonder how headstrong he's going to be first time on dirt. I also didn't like the way he finished that well in that race. He's going up and down a bit at the end there. I'm not sure that more distance does him any favors.
Muggatu, the number 9, finished behind Encino and Epic Ride in the Battaglia Memorial, then didn't do much in the subsequent rush away on Turfway. Unlike Epic Ride, he has raced a couple of times on dirt, and those efforts just don't look very promising.
Yeah, I mean, his dirt races aren't good. His turf races really aren't that good. His all-weather races are maybe a little bit better, but they don't make him a contender. And here he looks like maybe the longest shot on the board.
And here's your morning line favorite, the 10 Sierra Leone. He sold for $2.3 million as a face-who-tipped Saratoga yearling, a debut winner going a one-turn mile, a good effort rallying from Anavan and the Remsen in his second and final start as a 2-year-old. And then he did everything right in the Risen Star, Mike. I'm sure Chad was concerned going a mile and an eighth off the layoff over a sloppy track. Blinkers for the first time, though, I think kind of sharpened this horse up a little bit and got him more focused. He did get a perfect closer's trip. The split was there on the second turn. He got to the outside and he charged them down.
Yeah, all those things are true. I mean, you have to say everything really worked out for him last time, maybe aside from, the sloppy track, which I know he caught a wet track in the Remsen too, but he doesn't have to love that kind of stuff. But man, he really ran. You're right. The split was there for him and he got into the clear for the final furlong, but he really ran when he saw the daylight. I don't really know what to say then. I just like this horse. I really liked his debut. I really liked his Risen Star. I thought he ran great in the Remsen right off of his debut. I know you could say he hung maybe a little bit in that race, but he ran really well that day against a more seasoned Dornoch. I just think this horse is good, and I think he's the horse to beat in here.
And completing the field is the number 11, Encino, who by all rights should be 3 for 3 in his career. He did not have a very good trip in his career debut. He came back to win his second start. And then the Battaglia Memorial, he looked pretty good. It's not like the pace was very fast. And once he just got out into the clear, he blew by them. He has a little bit of dirt. He's never raced on a dirt track, but he's by a Derby winner, Nyquist, out of a half to a Derby winner, Street Sense. But he draws a lousy post.
Yeah, lousy post. Tough spot for him too. But you're right. He's bred for this kind of surface. And I really, first of all, I like that he has a little bit of speed. So maybe he can get forward in this race. And I just really appreciated how he improved. And he improved noticeably winning that stake last time. Took him a little while to get straightened out in the upper stretch. Once he was straight, he ran. He was pretty good in there.
Before we take a look at our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Let's take a look at our top picks for Saturday's race of the day. I think we're both kind of high on Sierra Leone, not only as a bluegrass horse, but going forward as this Triple Crown season continues. I think he has the right running style if he gets a solid pace, and just he looked like, from a focus standpoint, that he really was much more mature in the Louisiana Derby.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I just like him as a horse. I think there's better to come for him too. He's still so lightly raced, and I like the way he came back off the little layoff last time to win. I'm going to take him on top in here, Dan. And listen, I have no knocks on Dornoch. I think he's a really nice horse, and I think he could improve in here. I just felt like, from a wagering perspective, I'm not going to use the 2 favorites in here. I'll try to beat the 4, and I'll try to get the 1 and the 6 in there.
And I'm with you as well. I kind of think the 6 is interesting. My kind of interesting alternative to the favorite and the exact is the 2 BU, a horse that might have finally put it together last time out with that sprint win going 7. He drew well in here, and he seems tactical enough to work out a trip. 10-1-6-4 for Mike, 10-2-4-6 for me. Grade 1 Bluegrass at Keeneland on Saturday. Important Derby prep. Good luck.